to I King Dandy crazy. Wow. You're watching MD90. Subscribe to YouTube channel. Nishiu. The curfew.
So of late, the conversation about the retirement of the former head of state, Edgar Chagwa, Lungu, or whether he stays in politics has been in the news for a while. So in the news diggers, it was reported to say, out of my love for former president, I am saying Lungu must retire, Lubusha. This is one member of parliament from the Patriotic Front saying there is need for the former head of state to retire and get out of active politics. And he says that's out of love. But immediately there was a response to that request or that statement. This was responded to in the Sunday Nation. So the headline says, "Plot to have Edgar Chagwa Lungu retire exposed." So Francis Kapianga discloses that there is a plot to have that has been hatched to obliterate the opposition, particularly the Patriotic Front, from the political scene. Says that those calling for the former head of state to retire from active politics are allegedly state-sponsored. So based off that statement that you saw in the previous headline in the news diggers, this one, the response is that to say those individuals are sponsored by the state, which is pretty much the UPND government, or that's the party in government right now. So he says, those people are alleged to have been sponsored by the UPND and they're the ones who are calling for Edgar Lungu's retirement. And he says, and then Edgar Lungu has finally spoken out. So this is Sunday evening, just a couple of minutes ago, he put out a statement and addressing the nation. And this is what Edgar Lungu had to say. It's now been, this statement was just put up, this is Sunday. He says, "Fellow citizens, today is a very sad day in the history of our country as we witness yet again another attempt by President Hakainde Hichilema's government to alter the course of democracy and good governance in our country and reverse another constitutional court decision." It says, "You may all recall in 2016, under my administration, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and others challenged through the constitutional court a decision that allowed my cabinet ministers to remain in government and on payroll." So he's making reference to say Hakainde Hichilema's decision to appeal. It goes further to say on payroll after the dissolution of parliament, their argument was that the current constitution of Zambia requires legislature to relinquish their government positions as cabinet and provincial ministers once parliament is dissolved 3 months before the next presidential and parliamentary elections. In 2020, the Constitutional Court ruled in their favor, and we all complied and respected the decision of and consequences. All members of all ministers in my cabinet were compelled to refund the government all minorities that were received, pretty much money that were received. The court emphasized that the law for ministers to leave government positions after the dissolution of the House is meant to ensure that their political playing field, the political playing field and candidates within the outside parliament and within the National Assembly is leveled, pretty much equal. And today, however, we have sadly read about Lusaka lawyer challenging the Constitutional Court decision and asking the same court to quench their earlier decision of 2020 on the same matter. From this precedence, the gesture is both shocking and annoying and disappointing for every Zambian, because it is another high-profile assault of our judiciary and democracy, of our constitutionalism. Ladies and gentlemen, wake up. He puts that in capital letters. Ladies and gentlemen, wake up and see what has happened. See what happened on the 10th of December 2024, when the newly reconstituted Constitutional Court took away my right to recontest or to contest the 2026 elections is about to reoccur through the Hichilema sponsored proxy. This appetite by Hakainde Hichilema to dilute the constitution and rape the judiciary and undermine our hard-earned democracy is worrying and alarming, Edgar Lungu writes. He goes further to say, I am appealing to every Zambian to stand up and be counted. For once, employ all legal means as possible, including courts and peaceful demonstrations, to stop this bogus court petition from the UPND executive, because allowing it to undermine the principle of our separation of powers and instantly kill our democracy. I warned on the 10th of December 2024 that the decision to bar me from transcended the fate of Edgar Chagwa Lungu. It speaks to the erosion of our judicial independence and weaknesses of our democratic foundation, and the weaponizing of our institutions for short-term gain. Fellow Zambians, the country suffers, democracy dies when we choose to remain silent in the face of grave injustice. Stop this now. He puts it in capital letters again. He goes further. May God bless you all. And then he signs it off. Just a second. He says, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, 6th Republican President of Zambia and Patriotic Front President, Tonse Alliance Chairman. So that's a statement coming from the former head of state with regard to what he alleges there's a ploy coming from State House and Hakainde in particular, as you heard. And then the Patriotic Front goes further to put up that statement. You can read it for yourself. They say President Hakainde is lawless and suspended the constitution. Should Zambians formally suspend the constitution and allow a rule of by decree? They ask based off that video. That's a caption coming from the Patriotic Front. What is Munia Zulu says, oh, kwacha notes are almost rotten and people cannot use them to buy import. Some people think the economy is fine. How many can afford cashless transactions? He asks, because the quality of the kwacha notes has been extremely bad, pretty much. So you could see that's a 5 kwacha note. Once you use it once or twice, the paper that they're using is very bad. So that's what he's referring to. Most of the people have written about it. There's even an article that came from Fred Membe where he's appealing to say, if the Bank of Zambia is using very poor paper to print our money, might as well turn the 5 from 10 kwacha and below, everything should be turned into coins, as opposed to this poor quality notes that are in circulation in the country right now. And then Munia Zulu goes further. As you may be aware, there are by-elections that are coming up in a couple of days. So Bino Mpundwa says there is a ploy against him once he goes to Petauke to campaign. Same thing. Emmanuel Mwamba says, kwacha performance better than other currencies in Africa, Msokotwane. Pipe dream. I've always, it's a statement. Sokotwane was saying the kwacha is performing in another currencies in Africa. It's better than other currencies according to him. And then Emmanuel Mwamba writes an article about him to say, his incompetence is loud. And then the UPND say all independent members of parliament, PAF members of parliament in Eastern Province have endorsed the United Party for National Development UPND candidate in Petauke by-elections. This shows that most of the members of parliament in parliament are in support of the United Party for National Development. Now, so one would argue to say which members of the independent, independent members of parliament, because you can see Munia Zuru and what's his name, Bino Mpundu are clearly supporting the PF candidate. Anyway, this is just a political statement. But obviously, there are some members of parliament that have endorsed the UPND candidate. But saying all of them, that's a pipe dream, really, if we're being honest here. And then Mfue MP denies the utterance of seditious words. You can see that court case is still proceeding. The UPND say JJ Banda's right-hand man, Headman Hichilema endorses UPND candidate in the upcoming by-elections. So those are expected headmen in it for their benefit. So That's not far-fetched, definitely. And then Zambia and Russia expedite the process of land administration. This is the ministry that is run by Sylvia Masebo. So there's a collaboration between the Russian government and Zambia, obviously take note of our land. And then Hakainde Hichilema hails patriot Moses Shirwa, that's a pastor that recently died this week and was put to rest. So the president was writing in the book of condolences there. That's where that headline comes from. And then Newsdigger also has that headline. And then the mass newspaper says UPND reckless, says Hari Kalaba decision to continue exporting power as condemned citizens to poverty. So that's Hari Kalaba's statement, and that's the news, ladies and gentlemen.